Welcome to The Secret Sauce. I am your host, Kip Schubert, and this is a podcast about educators sharing their stories and how that has led them to their own secret sauce in building life-changing connections and relationships with students and staff. Be sure and follow us on this podcast so you don't miss an episode, and reach out to us about us coming to your school to share the secret sauce with your students and your staff. This episode dives into why we feel resentment and what that anger and bitterness really is. Here we go with episode number 9. You're not angry, you're jealous. I was listening to Brene Brown a couple weeks ago and got the idea for this podcast, and resentment is a relationship killer. Not just in our professional life, but in our personal life also. Connection and relationship is what takes us to the next level as a teacher, as a coach, as an administrator. But too often those connections are severed and relationships broken because of resentment. Our country is so consumed with having the most and being the best and getting more and more while giving less and less. So it's easy to see how we can fall flat on our face after being tripped up by resentment. I do think we had the idea of resentment all wrong. We think we are angry, and after all, it's not fair when others get what we think we deserve. When we have worked hard, yet someone else gets the recognition. And that resentment begins to seep into our relationships like poison, eventually killing them beyond repair. But we have a right to be angry, don't we? Or do we? In a time where it is all about status and how much you earn and achieve, you're not angry, you're jealous. This was a tough pill for me to swallow. Not only did it remove the scapegoat for my lack of success, it removed all excuses for me to give it my best, one day at a time, no matter what. When it became clear that I wasn't angry, I was only jealous, it forced me to my own complicity in my own mediocrity. I had to face the fact that in many cases, I was my own self-sabotage. Not because I was afraid to lose, I had become a pro at that, but because I was afraid to win. I was now forced to choose, blame others and complain, or find a way and get better. And I hate to lose, so my option was to win. It was uncomfortable, painful at times, yet the end result was more solid connections and relationships that allowed me to thrive personally and professionally. I began to accept and meet people where they were. I stopped trying to change people to meet my own expectations. I focused on what I could do, on how I could be better, and how I could serve those relationships instead of those relationships serving me. I wasn't really angry at family, peers, or colleagues. I wasn't mad at all. I was jealous. My little brother and I were always inseparable in our younger days. I think we chased the party together way too much. However, even though our bond centered around soccer and partying, it was more than just that. It was an unspoken bond, and although we have grown to take different paths, I know that bond remains. I sacrificed some of my youth to be the pseudo-father in helping to raise him. I was a chauffeur, the protector, and a tutor when he would struggle in school, and I relished that role. It made me feel like somebody. But in time, I would come to carry a lot of resentment for him. We attended college together, and I was the better athlete and player, but I didn't yet possess the grit my brother had. I won numerous awards, became a star during my playing days, but my brother was a captain, he was steady, and he parlayed his success into just more success. We both went into coaching together, forming a decent soccer club in Oklahoma City. He had the success that I dreamed I could have. We both won, and we both won championships. He just won more of them and took teams to the national level. He was getting the recognition that I wanted, and I knew I was working just as hard, if not harder, to get. While I was having a pity party all by myself, he just lived out his passion. The resentment stunted my growth as a coach, and it kept a ceiling on the drive and perseverance that I would allow myself to have. As a business owner, he did extremely well for himself. Owning 2 indoor soccer arenas, he was a regional director for the ECNL National League for Girls. It seemed as if everything he touched turned to gold. He was a regular old King Midas. I grew to be angry. It wasn't fair. I worked hard too. I was the better player. I was a great coach. So why did he get all that I deserved? Resentment warped my perception of reality. And I wasn't angry all that time. I was jealous. Today I am just proud of him. He has accomplished so much. What came easy for me, he always had to work twice as hard for. And he did. The natural gifts that I had left me lazy and complacent. Whereas my brother, it was fuel to prove himself a success. I have learned a lot about grit by watching what he has done with his life. The jealousy is gone and replaced with an acceptance and just embracing our relationship as it is and loving him unconditionally for who he is. When we learn to let go of resentment, it reestablishes our ability to cultivate thriving relationships. We no longer are concerned with just ourselves and what we get or want, but in how we can love those people close to us better. We get to give to others, and it returns to us that fulfillment plus some that we had always sought after before. My brother deserves all that he has achieved. The resentment I held against him was the thing that was not fair. I wasn't angry. I was just jealous. Resentment has also found me in my professional career as well. As a teacher, yes, but even more as a coach. Before I got clean and sober, I never really cared about being a great teacher, although that natural secret sauce enabled me to connect well with students. But after my recovery, I began to really want to go all in as an educator. I wanted to be the best teacher, and my goal was to be Teacher of the Year at my school, something that in 27 years I have never achieved. I worked my tail off to be more than just a relationship builder, but to become effective in all things pertaining to teaching in the classroom. But my name never got on the ballot. I saw teachers rewarded year after year who did very little effective teaching. Yet because they were either a lifelong member of that community or the favorite of the in-group around the lunch table in the workroom, they won. And I got resentful. Why wasn't I recognized? I was working my tail off. There came all that about me attitude again creeping in. Sure, some of my angst was justified, but at the end of the day, it wasn't about me or some Teacher of the Year recognition. It was about impacting young people, and I was growing jealous, not angry. I think that as a coach, it was much more difficult to fight off the resentment. Soccer coaching was one thing I had always approached the same way. I was all in, go big or go home kind of guy. Deep down, I always knew I was good at it. Yet I wanted to be great, the best. In 2008, I was selected as the All-State Coach of the Year in Oklahoma, and I earned that puppy. But after I hit sobriety, I took a coaching job at a school that had no history of winning and was really void of the culture that it took to do so. I went all in at that job, and it would become the best coaching job that I have ever done in my life. We won, but not like the records that get you noticed. I turned that program around, and I am proud of the job I did there more than anywhere else I've ever been. The relationships and impact I lived out in that place will stay with me for my lifetime. But that didn't stop resentment from rearing its ugly head. It was tough to win there. Everyone knew it, but yet I did it. We still weren't a playoff team. We weren't winning championships, and yet other guys coaching at the schools with all the talent were, and it made me so mad. I was spending 10 times the hours these guys were with their teams. Yet each year the coach who got recognized was the one who won from the same group of bigger school districts. Some of them couldn't coach their butt out of a brown paper bag, yet there they stood, Coach of the Year. I had grown jealous of what they had, and I didn't have. It's funny how life reminds me so often that it is just not all about me. I did the most amazing job at Sapulpa, Oklahoma. And maybe the work wasn't recognized in the way I thought it should have been. But you know what I have learned is that the work that we did there is still being recognized in life-changing connections, in the impact that was left on the players, and in the impact and growth that was left on my heart. I've come to know love in a romantic sense with my wife. Yet those 4 years at that school taught me how to love other people, how to serve, how I am measured by what I give, not by what I get, and definitely not some award. For a bit, I thought I was angry, and that is the moment that I realized I wasn't. I was just jealous. Resentment really is a killer. It can poison us as men and women. It can poison us as educators. It's human nature for us to want to be seen, heard, and valued, but we have to be careful that that need doesn't become a selfish want. When it does, we open the door for resentment to creep in, and it has an adverse effect on our ability to create and cultivate the relationships and culture our students, staff, and schools need. I do a few things each day to combat that resentment that is always lurking around ready to mess with me. I say each morning as I get out of bed, I get to go to school and make a difference. That helps me focus on the mindset that is needed as an educator, especially today. I take the time each morning to also journal. Getting your thoughts on paper is a very therapeutic method and also helps you hold yourself accountable to where that mindset needs to be and where you can adjust it. In that journal time, I add one more line of defense for resentment. I write down 5 gratitude statements, and I read my I am statements. I reflect on what I am grateful for, and that pushes back the resentment and replaces it with a peace and an acceptance of where my life is today. My I am statements are just daily positive affirmations that move the needle to all that I can do and will do instead of all that I can't or I won't. Think about where you are today, personally and professionally. What are you resentful of? Where are you not getting the recognition you think you deserve? Are you mad about it? Do you spend a good portion of your day blaming and complaining? If you are, then it is affecting you as an educator more than you might think. It is hijacking your mindset and what you think on and what you believe, and that is what you're going to become. Negative or positive, it's all up to you. Say I get to. Journal. Write gratitude lists. Speak I am statements. And do them daily to shift that mindset into the positive. Keep your resentment at bay and don't let it in. But when it gets a hold of you, remember one thing. It's just not all about you. And you're not angry, you're jealous. I would love to connect with you. Come find me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, or Instagram. I would be honored if you would share out this podcast. Follow it so you don't miss another episode, and together we can cultivate that secret sauce to building life-changing relationships with our students and our staff. If you would like to be a guest, share your story, and how it has helped you develop your secret sauce, please reach out to me. I would love to talk about scheduling you on the show. Continue to share your story. Create connections and relationships in a school culture that is life-changing. Learn the lesson that life is just not all about us. We find the foundation to our secret sauce when we learn it is about impacting others. Remember when we are feeling resentful, angry, and bitter. It might just be that we're really just jealous. Till next time.